Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we've got a special guest with us, and that's Katrina Donaghy from Civic Ledger. How you going, Katrina?
Very well, thank you, Alex.
Now you guys just won Best Emerging FinTech Organisation, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was quite a surprise given that we are blockchain. So it was a huge event on Wednesday night in Sydney. Yeah.
That's fantastic. But you're also a member of ADCA, who we've had on the channel a couple of times, the Australian Digital Commerce Association, and you
Yes.
help run some women in blockchain meetups. So we've got plenty to talk about today.
Yeah, there's plenty to talk. And we're also members of the Blockchain Australia with Adam Poulton as well.
Fantastic. Yes, Adam's a friend of the channel as well. So you
Mm.
guys have been around in Queensland since September 2016, and what's the project all about?
Well, basically, we saw an opportunity. I come from a government background, and we saw an opportunity way back in the middle of 2016 to see how we could look at applications of blockchain in government. And through one of our co-founders, we took a application opportunity to the Queensland government, and that gave us validation that blockchain technology had a space in government, and it gave us the ability to tell our story to secure other customers to get traction. So, like a startup, you have to still get market validation and earn your revenue before you can actually sort of go out there and start doing raises.
Exactly, exactly. So government record keeping and compliance is a huge part of what they do. So
Yes.
what the Civic Ledger project's trying to do is just help all that, make it more accessible, efficient, and effective, as it says on the website.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, basically, because blockchain technology is about building out trust, which we all understand. But I guess in Australia, we have a different relationship with government where we may not trust our politicians, but we do trust the services that we do receive.
Yes.
So for our approach, we sort of talk more about efficiencies and transparency in those transactions to secure the trust, I guess, from the blockchain technology. So governments are always looking for ways to digitalize citizen services, but it's still a challenge because they're looking at legacy systems to do that, such as data silos, big efficiency review products that are taking nearly 3 to 5 years to get to market. So we do a lot of sprints with government to sort of show them the potential of the blockchain technology.
Yeah, so I mean, some of the things that you just forget about property, individual records, organizations, all these things require long histories and the registry to be accurate. So, blockchain, that
Yes.
immutable ledger, is a perfect use case for this technology.
Yeah, we see that we talk a lot about the idea of federated data. So if government are, they are an authorized source of data because of all the mechanisms that we have to go through to prove that something has been issued to us.
Yeah.
So if we look at federating data, then it gives the opportunity for that data to be taken into new marketplaces. And what we're finding with a lot of the conversations that we have with government here in Australia is that they're not interested in owning those marketplaces or regulating those marketplaces. They want to see how applications can be built upon a protocol or a layer that we will build for them. And that's for us is very exciting because that's to us, that's what the potential blockchain technology is about. It's about building out new governance systems, new economies of the future, and spending on innovation.
Yeah. How have those conversations changed from, blockchain and Bitcoin, cryptocurrency being a dirty word in government circles? Has that changed a lot in the last 12 months?
Mm, yes and no. It depends on who you talk with. I think what we find it does come down to leadership and people in leadership positions who are seeing the potential of blockchain more than just the hype.
Yeah.
So what we find is it's when you start the conversations and you have to do a significant amount of education. I think one of the things that we forget to realize is that we've been immersed in this space for a few years. So we think that everybody understands what it is. We
Yeah.
just go, well, why don't you understand this? But there's a lot of people that are still starting to wake up to it and they are getting curious, but it's our role to do a significant amount of education to take them on the journey and show them where the potential of the technology can be applied. And then they go back into their own organizations and start to think about where it can be used. So because we've been around for nearly 2 years, which is a long time
Yeah.
in blockchain, we've been able to get an idea of where good applications can work in government, and we really focus right from the get-go and say, look, this is where it's going to work, this is where it's not going to work. So if we start here, and it makes it a lot more easier conversations to have, basically. But we sort of see that the token economy, I think this is where, we'll probably have a bit of a chat about ICOs a bit later, but we see the idea of government-issued assets that can be tokenized is huge, absolutely huge potential.
Oh, 100% agree. And is that one of the things they're interested in, or is it those main selling points of, hey, guys, this is going to reduce costs, this is safe, blockchains can't get hacked? Is it those sort of things that they go, oh, okay,
Yeah, so we have to, obviously we talk about reducing cost to serve. Absolutely. Is speeding up transaction times. But what is also of interest to the government is how, because when the transactions occur, the auditing process happens at the same time. So instead of having to audit the data 6 months after the transaction has occurred and then find that there have been bad actors in that transaction and then go through the path of prosecution, they're able to actually look at the processes or what's going on in real time. So we do, we start off with really benign things like camping permits. Or I live in Queensland, and one of our islands that we have here is the Fraser Island, which was one of the most beautiful islands on the planet. But you go there at Christmas time, and there's thousands of four-wheel drives, going across the island, and nobody has visibility on who's on that island in terms of, is it getting overused? Is there some environmental damage going on? So if the government's given transparency around the issuance of those permits, then they can cap them if they feel that the island's getting overused.
I mean, we've spoken to Lucas Cullen, who's a leading developer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's going to be on the channel as well this week. And just record keeping is a perfect use for blockchain technology. It was one of the few things that he says is a very good application the governments are going to integrate. So
yeah, absolutely. Because Lucas is a colleague of, he's from Brisbane, so we know each other very well. Plus, we're both in our meetup communities.
Yeah.
So if we federate the data using the registries, then APIs or applications can pull that data and create dApps, and therefore other applications based on that data can be used to solve problems that government don't have to be involved in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in my mind, I'm picturing in the future, instead of taking, months and being very expensive to get a copy of your birth certificate and stuff like that, it'll just be, if you've got the private key and the government gives you the authority, you can get up that record very quickly on a blockchain. So that's the sort of things I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, there's so many things that we see, so many, but it's just great that the government finally are having a conversation, or even the whole world is finally having a conversation with us. But we still got a way to go.
So switching gears a bit, you mentioned the meetups in Brisbane and that. How's the women in crypto meetups going, and just in general the community? What's your thoughts on all that space at the moment?
It's really exciting. Like in Brisbane, we run the Ethereum, we run the Bitcoin blockchain, the Women in Blockchain. We've got a whole stack of crypto meetups as well. We've got about 2,500 people activated across those meetups in Brisbane. And every other week you can go to a meetup, and it's for free. So what I focus on is the storytelling. So I'm interested in the why should we be taking an interest in blockchain technology. And I was inspired by attending a Women in Blockchain meetup in New York last year when we went over for Consensus. So I brought that whole process back here to Australia, and we run a meetup every month in Brisbane. We've now got 400 members. And what I do is I interview women who are doing something in the technology space, whether they are in government or whether they have their own company. So I've interviewed Dr. Jane Thomason, who's doing massive things around getting the, bottom 2 billion people out of poverty. She's also the inaugural UN Women of the Decade. I've spoken to Dr. Lucy Cameron from Data61, Emma Weston from AgroDigital. We just interviewed the 2 women from the Queensland Treasury Corporation who oversaw their first ever bond transfer with Commonwealth Bank back in January 2017.
Yeah.
So what I'm interested in is giving the audience a way of looking at the technology from a market fit perspective, rather than making it all about the technology and what's under the hood. we've got other meetups to do that. But I'm interested in saying, why should we care about this technology? Because I'm interested in the members going back to their workplaces and asking the questions in government or their industry and say, we should be looking at this technology because at the end of the day, I want to be able to create marketplaces for other startups to find buyers in the market who want to be, to actually buy their product, because grants are too hard and they're too congested, but market validation is the best way for a startup to get traction. So if we're able to create a two-sided marketplaces through these meetups, then I think we have a better future for the potential of the technology anyway.
Yes, government's a slow-moving beast. There's a lot of projects that we talk to say. So the fact that you can open up capital markets and good projects can get support from all over the world now, it's fantastic to see happening. So any final thoughts, Katrina? I appreciate you coming on the channel today. I'm sure we'll keep in touch in the future with everything happening as well.
I guess I get asked a lot about Australia. Australia is really holding its own against the rest of the world, and we see that a lot. We get asked, like I'm part of the Australian Digital Commerce Association. I'm a board member, so we were recently in Manila working with the Asia Development Bank and educating them about what Australia is doing in terms of real life applications of blockchain technology. And I'm heading off to Bangkok on Sunday to talk with USAID around how, again, Australia's startup ecosystem can assist developing countries. So I think we should be really proud of what we're doing here in Australia, and particularly what you're doing with Nuggets News and spreading out the messages. So I guess it's just just to take a stock of how well we are going. But having said that, we've got a lot of work to do.
A long way to go.
Yeah. But I think also just to watch, now that Ethereum or Ether has been declared as not a security by the SEC in America, I think the idea of token economics and token asset-backed tokens is something to be really excited about.
Absolutely. We've spoken about that in detail,
Yeah, and I think that's where our conversation should be heading now, instead of the bros and the hype of the cryptocurrency, which is such an important part of our ecosystem. But let's get real now.
Yeah.
Let's really understand that if we look at assets and how they can be tokened, that is, to me, the most exciting part. And I'm hoping the next 12 months will be really having those in-depth conversations.
Awesome.
And much more opportunity to evolve.
I think that's a fantastic place to finish. So thanks so much for joining us today, Katrina.
Thank you, and thanks, Alex, and thank you so much for hosting me today.
Cool. Cheers, guys.